Welcome to the latest European Tour Life on Tour podcast presented by Hilton. I'm Andrew Cotter, and in each episode we chat to some of the movers and shakers, the great names of golf. This week we are joined by Justin Rose, who's with us here in the Walton Heath Clubhouse, the famous clubhouse at Walton Heath. We're looking ahead, first of all, to the British Masters. You are the host with the most in October. Well, so looking forward to a special place, Walton Heath.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously, it's been hosted by Poltz and Luke and Westy, and they've all done a great job. And I've been pretty sure of where I wanted to host it, for 4 years now. When they announced the fact that the British Masters were going to be hosted by these 4 players, I was like, Walton Heath, that's where I'd love to take it. And obviously it wasn't a dead set. We had to get a lot of help from the club and make sure that the club were happy for us to come in and use their course, obviously, for the week, but all the weeks prior to, obviously these events take a lot of staging. So it was great to get Walton Heath on board. It's one of my favourite golf courses. It was important to me as a player. I build my schedule around courses that I like to play, great tests of golf, and this is a top 100 course in the world, and a real treat to play it.
What do you do as a host to try and outdo the likes of Poulter? Just lay on. I don't know, what do you do as a host? I mean, it's October, so it's you've got a lot of time to plan it. You have people to plan it for you, but what do you do as host?
Exactly. Do you know what it's about? Well, I think choosing the venue, is, in my opinion, was the most important thing, because as professional golfers, that's where we're spending our time. That's where we're really, that's what we love to do. We love to play golf. So all the peripheral stuff, as long as we can make it fun for them, logistically easy. I'm trying to obviously attract a good field. I've been trying to get in the ear of a few players, as many players as I can. It's proving to be a trickier day than I would have hoped. But I think the golf course, getting that in great shape. I've had a lot of input in terms of the routing of how we're going to play it. We're going to play a bit of a composite course, even though that's only 2 holes of the old course. The old or the new?
Well,
anyway,
it's a mixture, a blend.
It's a blend anyway, but and then just been working on some tee locations, and so I've kind of really enjoyed that side of it, the staging of it from a player's point of view. Okay,
well, the way this Life on Tour podcast works is it's sort of a bit like This Is Your Life, but not yet at the end of your career.
Okay,
or Desert Island Discs without the music, or feel free to tell us your favourite music during it. But we'd like to go back to the start. How old were you when you first picked up a golf club?
I've been swinging a little plastic club ever since I was about 1 year old. There's pictures of me with a curly mop of blonde hair, believe it or not, whacking a little golf ball around.
So I'm going to start with the blonde.
I was a blonde, beautiful cherub.
When did it turn?
Yeah, exactly. It about 8, 9, things started going south, to be honest.
So you were blonde until...
Beautiful baby.
And this is initially in Johannesburg?
Yeah, exactly. These photos. I moved to England when I was 5 with my family. Obviously, I was born British passport, never had a South African passport, but parents sort of emigrated back to the UK when I was 5, and I guess that's when I started playing for real. Hartley Whitney Golf Club was our first membership, and I played 9 holes there from the age of 5, pretty much daily. I think my dad realised it was a good excuse to drag me along to, that was the way he was allowed to go out and play golf, by taking me along with him, and I loved it. He definitely dangled the carrot and stroke bribed me just perfectly to keep me interested. I remember he set me some goals. I think I had to break 70 for 9 holes. That must have been around the age 5, 6-ish, just dinking the ball around, and then I think I got a train set or something. But every day he would keep it fun. If I could knock in a putt, I'd get a Mars bar on the way home or something like that. So good old-fashioned bribery.
I read that when your dad Ken, he was in pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And so when he came over, it wasn't instantly an easy time, because it was a sort of the 80s, and at the time of the 80s recession as well. So it wasn't initially an easy life.
No, absolutely. So he came over with a job in mind and with a partner, and I think it was one of those really weird situations where the partner kind of up and did the dirty, and there suddenly was no job, no company, and then being in his 40s from South Africa in the 80s, found it very, very difficult to get a job. They came up with a bright idea of starting a swim and dance wear shop in the town of Hook, which, needless to say, struggled a little bit.
Swim and dance?
Yes. Okay. I don't know why, how, who. I think my mum was a rep on the road for something along those lines, and So yeah, it was tricky, definitely a tricky time of their lives. I think as great parents do, they shelter their children, and we grew up happy, and you just, it's your normal, isn't it? So I think we'd had nothing to compare it to, and I was still able to play golf. But yeah, my parents made a lot of sacrifice in order for me to play golf and enter tournaments, and they spent a lot of time carting me around the country. And I think in those formative years, like I said, I probably didn't appreciate everything that went into it, but that was a lot of sacrifice on their behalf.
Now, you were well known for being a bit of a prodigy, and before your hair had turned black, probably, or dark.
It's going grey now.
Going grey now. God, the transformation is complete.
Trying to go from prodigy to I don't know what's next.
I don't know exactly, from the full transformation from the blonde afro that you had. But anyway, so because you were very good, very young. Did you know that this was a talent you had? I mean, people around you must have been aware.
Yeah, I did. I knew that. I think you always compare yourself to your peer group, and I was always beating my peers, my age group. I was always competing at a level slightly higher. When I was 14, I was playing for the under-18s, and I won the Carris Trophy at the age of 14. So as a kid, that's how you measure yourself. It's always a bit of comparison, which I try when I give advice to young juniors now. I try not to get them to compare themselves to other people. I think that we all develop at different stages, different ages, and as long as you're making incremental improvements year on year, you eventually going to get to where you want to be. There are kids that are phenoms, and it's very hard if you're a phenom to continue to live with that expectation and to continue to improve. So I always try to tell juniors, just work on your own game, always put yourself in an environment that you can continue to improve at the least, in the least pressure as well. So play at the highest level as you can without, overextending yourself, because then confidence can be damaged from that point.
Were there other sports, swim or dance, or was it all just golf?
No, it wasn't all just golf. I played a lot of sports growing up, and I think that's also really important for kids. We specialise really early. Kids are turning pro in sports so young now, but I think it's important maybe till about 14 to play as much as you can. That was the cut-off for me anyway. From 14, football fell by the wayside, cricket, tennis, all the things that I enjoyed doing sort of fell away, and I sort of single-mindedly focused on golf from about 14.
So if we're going chronologically, you get to the 97 Walker Cup, and you played as a 17-year-old. You'd only just turned 17. That was Quaker Ridge.
Yeah, 17 in 10 days randomly. I've read that a couple of times, because at the time I think I was the youngest. I think that's been eclipsed or clipped since then.
I should know that, but we have special elves who will find that out. But off the top of my head, I can't tell you. But anyway, it's incredibly young to be playing the Walker Cup. Wasn't a successful GB and Ireland side, but tell us about that experience.
Well, it was my first time playing golf in America. I remember preparing for it. I kept hearing how hot it was going to be there. So in the little 2-up, 2-down house that we had at home, I would turn on the bath water as hot, hot as I can, get the shower running. I would put on about 7 layers of clothing, and I'd go in and practice my putting for a couple of hours, like sweating, just to try and prepare. So even back then, I always
That's
had
Faldo-esque.
Well, even back then, I had a mind, I had a love for trying to prepare for the big occasion, and even to this day, I enjoy the preparation as much as I do sometimes the performance. So that was all the build up to the Walker Cup. It was an amazing experience. Like I said, first time playing golf in the States, playing in front of a huge crowd. I mean, it was probably a couple of thousand people, but that felt enormous. And funny story, I was playing with big burly Michael Brooks, and we were sort of out there. I don't remember what match, but obviously first day old foursomes, and he's sort of, I think we planned that he was going to tee off the first, and then suddenly he just was like,
no, having this just
not feeling it. He says, "Get up there, kid, you hit it." So I was like, "Oh, all right," and I felt great. My whole warm up went well. I was like loving it. Putting was going well. I couldn't wait. Got to the first tee, on the tee, representing Great Britain Island, Justin Rose. I was like, oh my word, my legs kind of went a bit jelly-like, teed up the ball, got up there, big cut out to the right, out of bounds. So the ironic and funny thing about that now is that Brooksy had to get up and tee one up on the first, which was, his whole plan went out the window. He stuck hooked it low left, and we were hitting our 7th shot from about 180, and when we failed to hold that one, we said, okay, lads, pick it up, let's go to the second.
Yeah, all the preparation of the steam room at home to no avail. I mean, and then you fast forward a little bit, and it's amazing, it's 20 years since Birkdale. I mean, that week, and everybody, even people who don't know golf, will know a little bit about that week because of the the way it finished. But again, tell us about that week in the Open Championship.
Yeah, that was a magical week, bit of a fairy tale week for sure. I think I've nearly met every person that was in the crowd at Birkdale now.
And some who have lied and said they were there.
Yeah, maybe, but it definitely lives on in a lot of people's memories. No one can believe it was 20 years ago. They're like, whoa, that's, so it just shows we're all getting on a bit now. I think it was just that perfect week where maybe conditions and it was just so tough out there. It was a sort of a survival week, and I think as a young amateur, you're sort of maybe a little hardier and you play in those conditions a bit more often than sometimes tournament pros do these days. So probably suited my game from that point of view. It was probably a bit of a leveler in terms of everyone's ability to get round, and I played just a dream round on the Friday in some tough weather, shot 66 and beat the field by 2 that day. So it just kind of shows what an amazing round that was, and that obviously built my tournament. And from that point on, I just rode the crowds kind of, all the support that I received was just amazing. But there was a weird moment on the 3rd round. I was like, I'm going to win this tournament. I just really had this calmness and belief that the game just felt easy. It was one of those weeks that if I hit it in the rough, it didn't matter because I knew I'd get it up and down. It was just, I had this weird I remember actually standing over the ball and not caring where it went. It was such a weird sense of freedom, and been trying to get that back ever since.
So so it almost, when you say that, you come to the final shot on the Sunday, you were probably the least surprised then that it went in, because you just thought, this is not meant to be, but it's just I can do anything this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I teed off on Sunday morning still with the outside shot of winning, but I think I made a couple bogeys coming in on that Saturday. I don't quite remember, but I had a goal just to finish in the top 10, and I was coming down the 18th hole. I remember looking at the leaderboard and I sized it up, and I could not finish outside the top 10, so kind of made a bit of a mess of 18, hit my tee shot left, hit my second shot further left, and it was just kind of a no-pressure shot based upon what my goal was. I was like, okay, I've achieved more than I ever dreamed of this week. I'm going to finish in the top 10. Let's just kind of get out of here and enjoy the moment. And fairy tale ending, I suppose. It was that kind of week, and hit the shot, up it went. Peter Alice, get in, they cry.
Get in, they cry.
Yeah.
And they are.
Exactly. It was just one of those amazing moments, and for a while it looked like it was going to be my defining moment, and I guess there was a period of time where I kind of had to work really hard to not be remembered for just that kid at the at the Open.
No, you don't want to be remembered for the big red baggy jersey either.
No, it's good old days that.
But the whole
had to still grow into it.
Yeah, exactly. Now it would be sort of figure hugging in a good way. But then you turn pro immediately, and you've got that welter of headlines as well, and so if you're trying to do things quietly, turn professional and just build, you can't do it.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this many times, but it's a misconception that I turned pro because I finished 4th at the Open. I lost in the first round of the British Amateur earlier that year, and my goal was to obviously win that, play the Masters, the Open, the US Open, all of that stuff as an amateur, turn pro the following year. When I didn't win that, I was sort of thinking, okay, well, I've played Walker Cup, I've won some other nice tournaments. What am I really sticking around for? Maybe the best place to learn about the Pro Tour is the Pro Tour. So I didn't think I was a finished article. Like I was saying earlier, I still knew I had to improve incrementally year on year. But I had a 3-year plan. And I think that if I look back, that 3-year plan went out the window after what happened at Birkdale. My expectations changed, everyone around me's expectations changed, and I had all these opportunities, these invites to play all of these tournaments. But I actually had invites to play the Dutch Open and the Scandinavian Masters before the Open happened. So I felt obligated to fulfill those sponsors' invites. So it was a bit of a whirlwind for me, a quick turnaround with everything that happened at the Open to tee up the very next, 3 or 4 days later at the Dutch Open. And I remember playing a practice round with Nick Price and cameras everywhere. And I remember my team won the Pro-Am, ironically. So the media made a big deal of my first £720 check. And then I got to the tee, or to the course. I was playing in the afternoon on Thursday, and my name was already on the leaderboard. And I just remember all of that I found overwhelming, obviously. And I shot 77 or 78 the first day, and actually came back the next day and played one of the best rounds that I would play all year. I think I shot 65 or 66 to what I thought make the cut on the number. And I don't know if I'm remembering it this way, but it was like the last guy in the last group in the afternoon birdied the final par 5 of the day to tip the cut from even to 1 under.
So it could have been not...
So yeah, I could have got that 21 missed cut streak out of the way very early.
But did you feel that you weren't ready, or that you didn't deserve all this attention? You didn't want all this attention, didn't deserve it yet, and you wanted to just work your way into it?
Correct. Yeah, this was all not part of the grand plan. You know, like I said, I had this 3-year plan, and then the plan was get a few invites on the tour, get a little feel for it, go to Q school, probably get a Challenge Tour card, spend a year on the Challenge Tour, graduate my way through, and after 3 years, one way or another, have a fully fledged European Tour card. And ironically, that 3 years turned out to be a remarkably accurate prediction. You know, I ended up really getting my full card in 2001 and then keeping it from that moment on.
Okay, and the whirlwind of attention obviously wasn't of your making, but did you feel any sort of, not resentment from the more seasoned pros, but you know, they must have been thinking, well, you know, this guy will find out, don't worry, he'll learn, as Curtis Strange once said to Tiger Woods, you know, that, you know, he's not quite ready yet, and suddenly he's getting all this attention. Yeah,
I would say so. I would say that there weren't many kind of arms around my shoulder, so to speak, out there. It was definitely, it's a big boys tour, and I was receiving a lot of attention, and you know, you start to take spots in fields when you're pretty much guaranteed to miss the cut, and then that's what I think players start to resent, is playing opportunities for other people. You know, and I think obviously in the first 7, 8, 9, 10 events, of course, you know, you're an addition to the field. You're there because it's better for the tournament, but then there's a point that you become a bit of a sideshow. So I think that probably did happen. I remember I was 17, I think, and the next youngest on tour at the time. Golf has changed a lot since then. I think Steve Webster, I got a feeling, was the next youngest at 23. Oh. So between 17 and 23 is quite a big age gap. And then obviously my dad was around me a lot because I wanted him to be, because I didn't have any natural peers out there, so to speak. And he started to get some heat for being around too much, and he should, you know, let me go and what have you. But yeah, it was a bit awkward, to be honest. I remember one person that was fantastic was Seve. You know, just he didn't have to say much, but he was one of the people I remember just putting his arm around me and saying, keep going, no? You know, just something like that. And it was enough.
That's amazing, as you say, because I remember your father and everyone saying when you did Birkdale finishing so high there, everyone's going, wonderful, fantastic, great. And then suddenly it turns and people are saying, well, he's been poorly guided. This is just the way it works in the media, but that can't have been easy.
No, you know, and I think obviously hindsight's wonderful. We would have done things differently, no doubt, but we were all learning on the fly. We turned pro, I think, not believing that I was the polished, ready, finished article. So it just made my learning process harder under the spotlight, for sure. So yeah, we did a lot of things wrong, no doubt. And I think my dad, if he was here right now, would hold his hands up and say exactly the same thing. But we didn't know any better. If we knew then what we know now, of course, we wouldn't have done it.
But when you get to, you know, deeper into that run of miscuts, did you ever have doubts yourself, that no panic, but just questioning, you know, is this where I'm meant to be?
Yeah, there were some dark moments, and I think that's when my mum came in and sort of just put things in perspective a lot more, really, just about life and golf. And I think I remember a bit of a defining moment for me just was that I had to take the Open completely out of, it was such a skewing factor in my whole career. So I said, okay, let's just take the Open away. Who am I as a golfer? I'm a young, talented player. I've done great things in the amateur game. And I simply went, okay, I have the talent to play great golf. And if I couple that with hard work, things have to eventually figure themselves out. And that's what I put my trust in. I stopped trying to live up to this kid who was meant to be Britain's answer to Tiger Woods, which I think was what was hurting me for certainly probably a year or so. And I went back to, okay, I'm a kid who is very talented and knows how to play this game. So let's just now continue to work hard.
Tell us how it did start to turn around and when you felt that it started to happen.
Well, I think also was I started to not judge myself on making the cut. I started to judge myself on am I making improvements? So if I'd missed the cut by 7 one week and I'd go out the next week and play a bit better, I'd say, okay, well, you're getting there. You missed the cut by 4, but things are moving. So I wouldn't hammer myself further into the ground. Oh, that's 18, that's 19, that's 20 missed cuts. I started to build it the other way. I started to create momentum out of nothing. I started to say, okay, right, missed cut by 4 this week. You're making improvements. You're getting there, and just build layer on layer on layer from the ground up, and stop comparing myself to. You know what I did? I put too much pressure on myself. I thought at the age of 17 it was so important to have a tour card and have full playing rights. And I had 7 invites to earn so much money, and that's how I was going to get on tour, and that's what I needed to do. And that's where I kind of tell kids now, just focus on your improvement. If you're 17, 18, 19, 20, as long as you're improving every year, you're going to get there. And I put way too much emphasis on having that full tour card at an early age.
Now, and it's been talked about a great deal, obviously, you know, your father, a huge role in your life, and as with so many people, the personal and the business side of things, the professional are intertwined. And while you were starting to get things going in the course, there was obviously the dreadful news that Ken was diagnosed with leukemia. So how difficult a time was that? How did you cope with that?
Yeah, that was really, really, really tough. I remember coming back from, I think, a tournament in Germany, and I finished 11th, I think. It was my best finish by far on the main tour, and came home, and I was obviously excited. My mum and my dad were there to pick me up, which was slightly unusual. And then in the car on the way home, they told me that Dad had leukemia, and I was like, you know, shocked, obviously, and upset. And it was a long road for him, to be honest. And I was always hopeful that he'll get better. In the first year or so, there were signs of recovery, and he got into remission. And then it became tough. When he sort of relapsed, you kind of knew that things weren't going to be very good. And I still am amazed that in the final sort of 3 or 4 months of his life, I was able to win pretty much 4 golf tours. Well, in the final 6 months of his life, I was able to win 4 times. And that, I'm so proud and happy that was to be the case, because he deserved to see me get to the top of the game, or to fulfill some of my potential, and to see me win on a pretty big stage, winning the British Masters in 2002. Probably gave him a bit of peace, to be honest with you, that he hadn't made the wrong decision and hadn't pushed me down a road that wasn't going to be fruitful for me, and all of those sorts of things, because I'm sure he questioned all the decisions that were made until then. But yeah, that was still one of my most proud wins, is the fact that he was able to see me win on the tour.
How did you throw yourself into that? I remember reading a quote that your dad said, okay, you have to be the strong one now. So you've got that, but also you're thinking, if I can do this for him, as you say, then it would be an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know where I got the strength from, to be honest. It's one of those things that, you know, he gave me confidence in myself. He sort of said, okay, you know, Justin will know what to do. I just felt that at that point, he taught me to be my own man by the time he was able to pass away, which I think as a parent is all you're trying to do for your kids, is to give them their independence to go and live their own life. And I felt like he'd achieved that for me. So I have no regrets, really, the way of course, I'd love him to have shared every great moment that I've had on the golf course and in my life, and have met my children and all of that. But I feel like I have no regrets in terms of the quality of time we had together and what he was able to share with me and pass on.
Yeah. And then afterwards, it's almost as if you had in your playing side of things, 2 careers. Quite a lot of golfers do. They have success, and then they fall away a bit and come back. And you went through that as well over the next couple of years.
Yeah, so obviously I got myself into the top 50 in the world around that time, 2001. I was 21 years old, which I think, if I look back at it, you know, I know it's a bit more common now, but if I look back at it 10 years ago, being in the top 50 in the world at 21 was, you know, despite being the 17-year-old kid who missed a ton of cuts, I really righted the ship pretty quickly and achieved some great things by getting myself to that level from nowhere. And then I made the decision to move to America. I think in 2003, I played quite well in some of the majors, world events. Got a couple of invites on the PGA Tour. Played really well in Boston. Finished 3rd. Made enough money to get a US Tour card. And that's something that, because I struggled so hard to get a European Tour card, to kind of have a US tour card so easily and quickly without going to their qualifying school. I was like, I'm going to have to take advantage of this. And the goal was always to maintain my top 50 in the world ranking and play both tours. But when the top 50s began to slip, when I slipped out of the top 50, I made the choice to continue to play in America, because my ultimate goal was to win majors. And I knew that if I wanted to win major championships, I was going to have to be comfortable playing in America. I always felt, and it's changed a little bit now, but I always felt back then, there was a huge difference playing a European Tour event and then turning up at a major in the States versus playing regular PGA Tour events. It was still a big change going to a major, but it was only magnified by 50%, not 100%. So I just felt like if I'm comfortable in America, I'm going to give myself a lot more chances to win major championships. That was the rationale and the logic. And so yeah, I would say 04, 05, 06, those were some sort of lonely times where I was a little bit forgotten about over here for sure, but I was doing good work. I was improving my game. I was working hard. I was setting the stage, I think, for what was to come. Obviously 07 turned into a huge year for me. It was a year that I sort of got myself back into the top 50. I played well in all the right events. I was able to give myself a great chance on the European Tour money list. Got to Valderrama that year with a chance to win the Order of Merit. Needed to finish top 3, but there were obviously lots of scenarios in play. And I won there at Valderrama to win the Order of Merit. And to win the Order of Merit in 12 starts, that's probably also one of my most untalked about, but one of my most proud achievements, to be honest with you. And that was a special year.
Okay. I'm going to nip into the chronology of this actually, because we're moving neatly along, but I forgot to ask you about early days living with Ian Poulter. When was that exactly?
Oh yeah.
When did you?
So
where was this? And
I think I met Poulter. I think it was the '99 French Open, and I think I was first reserve for the tournament. And I was sort of, hanging around on the putting green all day, and I think he was teeing off late one day or something like that, and just got chatting on the putting green and seemed like a cool guy. And he was playing also, I think, a bit Challenge Tour. I forget exactly how he was there or why he was there or these sorts of things, or if he got his card or lost it that year. But anyway, we both ended up on the Challenge Tour for a year. And that's where I met Poulter, and that's where I started rooming with him. And
where was this? Where were you? Or rooming with him in the hotels? Or,
yeah, hotels. Just wherever we would go across Europe, it would be side by side, twin rooms.
Is he tidy? Are you tidier?
I
imagine you're tidy.
I was a disaster. He reminds me to this day that I would always leave a pair of socks, or I'd leave a pair of shoes, or whatever, and he would always pick it up, because obviously I'd be out by the tournament on Friday. He'd be there on the weekend.
Do you think this was a cold calculating move on his part? He said, right, this guy's in a long run of miscuts. I've got the room to myself on the weekend.
Yeah, probably he was. He's shrewd, old Paul. So, but he's a great mate, and I think we've been through so much together, and actually our careers did ascend pretty similarly for a long period of time there. But I also learned a lot from him, no doubt. He was this very confident. He had prepared in such a different way. I was always trying to stay calm and cool and collected, and probably inside my own head a little bit too much. And he'd be getting ready for his round with the music pumping, going, "Come on!" Sort of like, really pumping himself up for the round. And it was more fun, no doubt. So I had a lot of fun with Ian, and I think having more fun on tour enabled me to start enjoying pro golf a bit more. It probably had a bit of a knock-on effect in terms of how I was playing and what have you. So. But yeah, I remember staying at Poulter's house actually for the British Masters 2002.
Oh. So you never actually roomed. So you roomed with him in hotels. You didn't actually get a place together and move in together.
Not Ricky Fowler style. No. We just kind of hotel, just cut the costs. But everyone was rooming together there. But he was the guy that I would knock about a bit with.
Okay, excellent. Let's move back then. As you said, 2007 things have really starting to pick up, but off the course as well, because you had met. When did you meet Kate?
Yeah, we've forgotten Kate. So
We've gone to Poulter before.
Yeah. So Kate I met around 2001. It's sort of we always joke there's a bit of a blurred lines there of where things started officially and where they it was one of those. It was a slow burn, but. Yes, from 2001 we really became an item, and she's always been a career girl. She's very intelligent, and kind of the decision, so I think it's 2003 or 2004, she made the tough call to kind of put some of her stuff on hold and come and spend time with me in America, move over and do all of that. So I was leaving family behind, but I was also starting this great new chapter of my life with Kate. So we had some great times, obviously just the two of us being over in the States and traveling around and seeing all of that. So, but yeah, 2000, we ended up getting married in the end of 2006.
And that's interesting because 2007, your greatest year to date at that time. And, you know, when you're happy off the course, happy on the course.
Yeah, very much so. So we got married December 15th, I think, I know it's December 15th. Sorry, babe.
Awkward.
December 15th, 2006. And I think I'd either just won the week before or I'd win the week after. And I think, that's right. I think I won the week before the wedding in Australia, which was an event that counted for the 2007 Order of Merit. So around my wedding, around that time, I won that event, kick-started 2007, and played some just good golf in the right events. Again, majors and world events really make big inroads on the European Tour Order of Merit. So I played well at all the right times, played very solidly in all the majors, I think top 12 or better in all the majors that year, and just won at the right time there at the very end. And that was an amazing feeling. Sort of going from the kid who missed all those cuts to being European #1 and following Monty, you know, all these amazing names on that trophy. And it's still one that I should probably go back and look a little closer at, because Seve, Faldo, I mean, you name it, all my idols are on that trophy.
Yeah, and you feel you've arrived and are sort of, I suppose at that stage now you feel you're a different type of player, a different standing of player.
Yeah, you know, I got myself, I think, into the world's top 10 around that time, maybe up to number 7, I think it was. So yeah, we're starting to get to the real top end of things here, believing I can win major championships. And then I think there was another little bump in the road after that, you know.
Well, before that though, your first Ryder Cup in 2008, which obviously was, you know, you'd be very proud at the way you played in your first Ryder Cup, but a difficult Ryder Cup for the European team as well.
Yeah, it was. A bit like the Walker Cup for me. I came out of it with a lot of positivity personally, but I never really knew what winning as a team felt like, to be honest with you. I would always think, okay, well, I did quite well. I had 3 points out of 4 and enjoyed that. And it was a shame that the team didn't win. And it was sort of very similar to my Ryder Cup, my Walker Cup experience. And just fast forwarding, not until 2012 did I really understand what winning as a team feels like.
And very contrasting, obviously you're talking about Medina there, but very contrasting Ryder Cups, but also in the way they were done. And everyone talks about 2008, and you can look back on it now, having seen subsequent captaincies, that it was a curious affair.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Felder got a little bit of heat for how he handled things, for sure. But also being a young English player, I felt like, and this is maybe where he went wrong possibly, but I felt like I had a really good relationship with Nick, and I had his ear, and you know, we had a good communication, and I felt like it was a very positive Ryder Cup. I was able to voice my opinions on how I wanted to play, if I wanted to play, when I wanted to play. Not saying I had obviously it all my own way, but it was just between me and him, it was a positive Ryder Cup. But I could see from more of a continental European point of view, I think that was the issue. And you know, clearly forgetting people's names and what have you. But
the details.
Details. But it sort of started my real love for the Ryder Cup. I came out of it not cynical. I came out of it thinking, wow, that was a really cool experience.
It's amazing you talk about 2008, 2012, what a contrast. And in between was astonishing because of the way it just didn't happen for you at all at Celtic Manor.
Yeah,
I mean, the way you were told, and the timing of the way you were told as well.
That honestly was a farce. Yeah, Monty was supposed to have called the night before or something, and didn't. And then I think, to be honest, Eduardo Molinari threw a big spanner in the works there, winning in Scotland, and I think it probably made Monty's job really, really difficult.
But just to remind people of where you were competing and competing well at the bar.
I was one or two shots behind the lead going into the final round, which I actually, in hindsight, I was starting the round with the same score as Matt Kuchar, who went on to win the tournament. But that caused havoc with not just me, but Paul Casey and Luke Donald. Paul was top 10 in the world, didn't get the call. I think
you'd won Memorial as well that year.
Yeah, I'd won Memorial. I was playing really, really, really good golf too. And Luke, I think Paul was playing with Harrington. And Harrington got the nod, and kind of Paul's looking over and looking at Caroline and kind of saying, there's nothing coming back. And he's like, oh, this is weird. Luke was out in 7 under or something on that Sunday, got the call, heard he was in halfway through his round, came back in 6 over.
Monty just didn't get time differences. He didn't.
I don't know what.
I mean, for it to happen on the course,
I don't know what he didn't get. He didn't get a lot of things. Hey, but I remember the cameras burning me during my warm up because they're waiting like for me to go into my bag and get my phone out. The camera is on me, and it's not a great way to prepare for a final round when you've got this added sort of intensity. And I literally got the call 15 minutes before teeing off.
No. When you got the call, when you saw the call, I presume you're thinking this is going to be good.
Yeah, you're hoping, because it was, I'd have picked me and Casey and probably Luke, to be honest with you. So that's the way I'd have done it, obviously. Would have won by 3 points. And I didn't get the call. I just remember Monty just saying, on this occasion, I can't pick you. There's nothing you can say. It's just, he was perfectly polite about it. Obviously, he was sorry. He knew he could imagine what a tough phone call it is to receive. But it was just the timings of it. That's I think what we all ultimately. We're all big boys, right? We can all handle not being picked for a team. I think it's just when it affects a tournament so badly at an important time of year. I thought it was just an awkward. It was awkward. And it was awkward for Monty, I'm sure, and it was awkward for everybody in that situation. So the moral of the story is play your way in.
Yeah, exactly. Leave no doubt at all. Did he end the call by saying play well today?
Yeah, I'm sure he did, yeah.
So you're a European golf fan. Did you watch that Ryder Cup? I mean, how difficult was it to watch if you did? Or?
It went on to Monday, didn't it? That's right. I think I was actually doing a corporate event for Zurich on that Monday, and I was playing a par 3 with every group, and I was sort of rushing back, check my phone, play one, come back, check my phone. And it was obviously it was a bit of a nail biter in the end, wasn't it? Yeah. But I think, of course, I mean, it's Ryder Cup, if I'm not playing, it's one of the events I'd love to watch. The Masters I'd watch, the Ryder Cup I'd watch. Those are probably the 2 golf events.
The British Masters you would watch.
The British Masters I'd definitely watch.
So then, since we're on the Ryder Cup theme, 2012, you touched on it already. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be on the 17th green at the end. Some of the worst commentary I've done on that putt because I thought I was racing past. But it was an amazing moment against Mickelson for everyone. So many Europeans on that 17th green. But the way it finished, could you sense that momentum was just flowing with the European team?
Yeah, just to go back a step, obviously back to 2008. Good experience personally, but I was like, okay, Ryder Cup, fun, cool, but not blowing me away like it has done for so many other players. First 2 days of Medina, I'm like, man, this Ryder Cup is overrated. Spent 2 years trying to get in this team. I played 7 tournaments around the world that I probably wouldn't otherwise have played. It's a 14-week commitment away from my family for this 1 week. Getting our asses kicked again. Really? I'm over it. That's honestly how I felt. Really? So how I felt through 2 days. And then Sunday happened, and it turned into the best day of my life, the best night. Just can't even describe how cool.
Apart from the wedding day, which date you obviously remember as well. So.
15th December. Yes, but anyway, one of the best days of my life. Hope she doesn't watch podcasts.
She'll be listening.
But yeah, let's go back to some of your questions. But so just going back, Ryder Cup, wasn't into it. Then Medina changed everything for me.
That's it. And as I say, is that as pumped up as you've been on a golf course as well when that putt went in? Yeah.
So just going back to your question. Yeah, we could definitely feel the momentum switching, changing. The crowd went quiet, which is what you want on an away venue. Again, Medina crowd were baying for their team to turn around this Ryder Cup form that obviously from 2010 they wanted it back, and I was just trying to focus on my match, really playing Phil, and I knew it was coming down the line. when we started 4 points back, I knew that half a point was not going to do it. Had to win the match, had to win the match, had to win the match. I'm 1 down, 3 to play. And I'm kind of urging myself to stay aggressive in terms of, it'd be easier to say, okay, let's just get half out of this. Would be a good result from being 1 down, 3 to play. But I kept urging myself to say, come on, you have to win this match. You have to win this match. Every point is massive now. And I had a 10-foot par putt on 16 to stay 1 down, which is obviously a huge putt if you try to win the match. Make that one, which is cool. And then 17, I remember just telling myself, stay aggressive, stay aggressive. Phil had missed the green left, and in the back of your mind, you hope he might not get up and down, but probably not the guy to be betting against. No. And the putt on 17, I just remember running it 100 times over in my head because there was a little knoll that I was putting over, and I kind of said, okay, if I start the ball there, what's it going to do? If I start the ball there, what's it going to do? If I start the ball there, what's it going to do? And I started to see, okay, I think I have to start it on that line. What's it going to do over this little knoll that I'm putting over? And once it was over that, it was kind of then just downhill kind of towards the cup, and then it slowed up just a little bit at the hole. And I hit it going 6 foot by apparently.
Well, I wouldn't say 6 foot past, but listen, I was standing beside the green and I did think, I mean, it was going at a good pace.
It was a positive putt for sure. And but it was a kind of a putt I felt like I had to make. And then when it went in, I had to do this sort of slow sort of waddle.
It was a waddle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a waddle. It was a bit like, come on, let's have it. It was sort of one of those. But inside, I'm running around the green doing laps. But I said to myself, you're all square. That's it. There's no point losing your mind now. You have 18 to play. This putt means nothing if you lose the last. So I remember walking to the hole literally as slow as I could, picking the ball out, and I walked so slowly up to the 18th tee, just trying to gather myself. And as cool as the putt on 17 was, the putt on 18 for me was everything. Yeah. It was the nail in the coffin. It was the putt to win. It was getting the job done. And I made it, and I knew all my team, or a few of them, Rory and I think Keimer and a few of the guys, no, not Keimer, he's obviously on the golf course, but Rory and my wife, the captains, I think it was Darren, and a bunch of boys were behind me. Make this putt, I turn around to give it large to them, because I've always seen Poulter have these moments where all the team are around, it's late on the Friday or the Saturday, and you know, he kind of gets the boggle eyes going and he celebrates with the team. I thought, oh, this is my moment to do this. I haven't quite had this in the Ryder Cup yet. Knock it in, turn around to kind of say, come on, boy. Phil's right there. All right. Better just rein it in and shake his hand and do the right thing.
But I remember afterwards though, and you know, it goes back to one of the guys who put his arm around you in your early struggles into Seve. You know, you were thinking, you're all kind of doing it for Seve that week. He
was a massive inspiration on Sunday, for sure. And, you know, Jose Maria, as much as I love him and as much as he was a great captain, he was so emotional because he wanted this so much for Seve. He was so frustrated after Friday and Saturday. He ended up giving us a good bollocking at one point. I think we were all a bit like, oh, okay, you know. But he was just almost too emotional. Yeah. But it's, you can just see how deep their connection is. And obviously we had the Seve logo on our sleeves and these amazing planes that paint it in the sky, do it for Seve, go Team Europe. It was just incredible, and there was a little bit of a weird feeling in the air, I've got to say. Yeah. And I thought of Seve out there. I kept trying to channel it. Yeah,
an amazing day. Another amazing day, another amazing tournament from Medina to Merion the next year, and your major breakthrough. Once again, it's I suppose it's Mickelson who's closest to you. Yeah. McDonald in there as well. But I suppose just to take us through the final moments. I mean, the shot that stands out is your, was that 4-iron?
4-iron
on the last.
Yeah. So I remember Fuch and I just did a great job prepping for that week. We went up to Merion the week before. We really got to learn the golf course. We saw Merion as the members see it. We pulled up in the car park. We hit balls in the net upstairs. We had lunch on the veranda. We waddled onto the first tee. I waddle a lot, apparently. Stepped onto the first tee. So I got to love Merion for what it is. And I think when you played it in the US Open, you were bussed out to you're on the West Course somewhere, you're in a big tent, you were climbing through people's yards to get back onto the property to tee off. So, you know, as we experienced it as a player in the US Open, it wasn't how you're meant to experience Merion. So the love that I had for the golf course was built the week before, which I think was really pivotal in terms of my enthusiasm for it. And everything kind of went, I actually got off to a really slow start. So just to quickly give you a bit, so I had a local caddy when I was there, and they explained the course to me. And they said it's a bit like a good theatrical performance, production or play. They said the first 6 are drama, the second or the third 6 are comedy, and the final 6 are tragedy. So I started thinking, okay, this is kind of how the course presents itself. Tough start, some birdie opportunities and some weird little quirky holes in the middle, and then hang on for dear life coming in. So I teed off on the 11th hole in my first round because of the way the road works. 11 was where, instead of teeing off 10, we teed off 11. And I got off to a bit of a slow start, but I played all the tragedy holes, so towards the end. And then I had, after all of those holes, I was into the drama holes, which were the front 9. So I was 4 over through 11 holes, but then I realised I had all the comedy holes coming up, which were the birdie chances. And I got 3 shots back and shot 1 over. Good solid start to the US Open. So I think those little bits of information that you can sometimes learn from a local caddy sort of framed how the course played for me all week long. And it's a little bit how Sunday presented itself as well. So coming down the stretch, I birdied, I think, 12 and 13 to get myself right there. And then I had those 5 holes coming in, which you better hang on.
Was it how you, I mean, you'd been in contention in majors before, but not bossing it as you were in that position there, the man to be shot at. Did it feel as you imagined it would feel in the final round of a major?
It felt, dare I say it, a bit easier. I felt that I had this great perspective as well, that my game was beginning to mature. Over the next 10 years, I'm going to give myself numerous chances to win majors. The likelihood is I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some. So I had this bigger picture in mind, and I said, okay, in order to win it, you've got to play freely. You can't try and protect it, guide it, and you can't, when the moment presents itself, you can't try and grasp it too hard, because that's when it will slip away. So I really stayed pretty free. I remember 3-putting 16 and just saying, oh well, keep playing. Just keep moving on, and finish par, and it was good enough. So I think that doesn't always happen. I mean, that sounds like pretty zen mindset, and there's been major championships where I'm wanting to snap and break, but on that occasion I was able to keep it really together, and I had this really long-term view of things. Yeah.
And then when the victory comes in the US Open, traditionally, some listeners may know or not know that it always finishes on Father's Day, and in America it's a big deal. You know, we sometimes might scoff at it a bit, but for you it would have been enormous, and it was enormous.
Yeah, it was enormous, and my dad was on my mind a little bit. I remember driving to the course on Saturday, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and I sort of just caught like a little bit of a reflection of myself, and I sort of, looked in my eyes, and my dad would always sort of say, grab me by the shoulders and look at me and say, how you doing today? You could always, try and read my eyes, is what he would say. So I sort of asked myself that rhetorical question, how am I looking today, Dad? I had a good conversation with my mum that morning before, and she said, okay, I'm just going to go out and do it for Dad today. But what do it for Dad meant was go out and make him proud. I can't control the result, but I can control my performance and my behaviour and my effort. And then Sean Foley sent me a brilliant text. He said, go out there today and be the man that your dad taught you to be, and the man your kids can look up to. So he sort of brought the 2 generations together for me, and that was really good motivation and inspiration for the day.
Yeah. I know we're going to leap forward a little bit here, but I do want to talk about the Olympics, because that was an entirely different experience, and you and Kate out there taking, I mean, she's a former gymnast as well, so just taking in the whole Olympic experience in Rio was, and you, so many players had said, Olympics is not for me, or I'm not going to go down there for Zika or whatever, I just don't want to be there, but you embraced it from the start.
I did embrace it. I just thought, what a cool experience, what a cool opportunity. It might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. 4 years down the track, it's very hard to say, okay, well, I'll do the next one. You just don't know if you're going to have that opportunity again. So I wanted to take it. Just to be called an Olympian was enough for me. For whatever that meant, if it was deserved or not, whatever. Just to say you've been to the Olympics, done it. Very cool. Kate was obviously very into it. She was, like you said, a gymnast growing up, but she was a sports acro gymnast, which she's always hoped would be Olympically recognised at some point. The fact that golf got there before her, it was like, slightly jealous. But she came down to Rio with me. We just loved it. I was in the Olympic Village for a few days, and then I moved out to a house near the golf course, just because that's how I like to prepare. And I wanted to obviously give it my best shot, so I prepared for it as I would for any major championship.
Just when you're in the village, sorry, are you looking at the other athletes and trying to guess the sport? Do you think they're looking at you and are you trying to flex a little bit? And
those legs, I don't know about that. I wonder what he does.
Equestrian?
Yeah. So that was a huge part of it. Just being around 10,000 like-minded people in the Olympic Village, watching other athletes walk around. Oh, that's got to be a high jumper. That's a long distance runner. They're a definite sprinter there. Yeah, it was kind of cool trying to pigeonhole people. But I remember training with the rugby sevens boys in the Team GB had this amazing school that was sort of our camp, and I went and trained with those boys, and I kind of was a little bit jealous. I thought, wow, to be in a team environment, when I train, I'm always training by myself. I've got to have that discipline to do it by myself. It can be a bit boring. But they were like slapping each other in the face. Come on, one more.
Poulter-esque.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, that looks like fun. But they motivated me just to not be this nerdy golfer in the corner. So I was giving it a little bit extra. And watching the badminton girls train, they're deadlifting, and I'm thinking, okay, for badminton, it's amazing to see the effort, the training, the 1% that everybody's trying to extract to be their best. So for me, for the Olympics, it made me tick all the boxes. I know how to perform well, but it sometimes requires doing a lot of things well. Yeah. So I was like, check, done that. I've ticked every box to try and play well. It doesn't always mean you're going to play well, but representing your country, I think, often kind of encourages you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and the cross-sport mingling went on. You had a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
Did you give the ball to Niall Wilson, was it, and the gymnast?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
he's a keen golfer. He came out to watch. I've stayed in touch with him since Rio. But yeah, the hole-in-one was amazing. Obviously, I think that sort of blew up news-wise anyway. First hole-in-one in golf in the Olympics, 112 years, blah, blah, blah. So that was a really cool experience. The funny thing was, Fuchs and I were fighting about the club that day. It was, no, it's a 6 iron, that's 7. No, it's not a 7. In. Yeah. I forget who pulled the right one. I'm going to say it was me, but
yeah, but probably not. Actually, talking about Fuchs, because some players change caddies with regularity, others have great stability, and you have had great stability for a long, long time. You've been with Mark Fuchs.
Yes.
So tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, 10 years now, which is amazing. We've definitely been through our ups and downs, but he is absolute rock. He's loyal to a fault. And what I love about Fuchs is he's not in it for the paycheck. Of course, he gets paid well and all this, and he gets paid well when we do well. But he's willing to put those weeks in that are unpaid. He loves to come up to major championship venues with me beforehand, prepare. He goes the extra mile. He's not like, okay, boss, they're the clubs on Sunday night, packs them up, right, boss, I'll see you next week. Midweek, he'll be texting me, how you doing, mate? Can I do anything for you? Do you need this for next week? Have you thought about that? Blah. He's in it. We're in it together, and I think when we win, like as in we.
Yeah. And, how did you get together?
My previous caddy, Mickey Doran, simply had enough of me, and he sort of said, "I think Fuchs will be good for you." I mean, Mickey had enough of me. I think that's accurate, but also we remained friends, and he was like, "You know what, Rosie? I think Fuchs will do a good job for you. So, good luck."
Yeah. Well, you have a great success. We talked about a lot of the highs. I mean, I don't know if it is it will be a low, I'm sure, but getting so close to winning the Masters. So tell us about the 2017 Masters. I mean, a great showdown in its own way.
It was a loss for sure, but it wasn't a loss. So you can lose tournaments. That's just one I didn't win, and I think, I don't have a heavy heart about it. If I like you're forcing me to do now. Like when I walked in here, it's not a big part of my life.
No.
But when I'm forced to reflect, I'm like,
that's what we do.
Yeah, it would be one that would have been amazing for sure. I still believe I will win the Masters, and so it might be a bigger deal 10 years time if I haven't done that. But I played really well on Sunday. I really thought it was mine, and if I look back at it, Serge rode his luck on a few occasions, and it's the way sometimes things go. Henrik Stenson reminded me that I rode my luck in Rio. There were a few occasions I hit poor shots, tumbled through some rough. I hit a great shot out of a bush on 12 that went on the green. That was my day, and that Sunday, as well as Sergio and I both played, it was his day. There were just a couple of little breaks.
13th hole.
Yeah, exactly. There were a couple of breaks that went his way down the stretch, and I've hit a great putt on 18, which everyone practices that putt so many times, and it's always a cup out to the right and just gently moves the whole way, and yeah, didn't fall for me on that occasion. But my execution was good. I remember saying to myself, right, Rosie, this is the putt you've seen, you've dreamed of. you can't force it in the hole. Just make sure you do everything right. Head still, release it, whatever your sort of process is, just commit to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously gutting, absolutely gutting. I was down probably for a month after that.
Well, I'm interested in how golfers deal with, because we talk about the successes and the moments of celebration and the days after, but how easy or rather difficult it seems to be, is it to let go of those?
Well, I always plan a holiday right after the Masters. So I had a bunch of friends out. We went away, got away from golf. So that was probably perfect timing on that occasion. But I think my motivation disappeared for a while because I worked so hard into Augusta. It's such a focus of mine. I worked so hard leading into it to get so close, it not to happen. It took me probably a month or 6 weeks to start to pick myself up and go, okay, right, the next one, on to the next one, right, and to rebuild and to re-energize. So, yeah, there's probably a licking the wounds process. I think at the time you don't realize that, but I can look back at it now and go, honestly, I think, yeah, it took a bit out of me for a while. But I don't ever look back at it and think it's one that that I let slip. It's just one that didn't happen for me. I felt like I played great on Sunday. To tee off in the final group with the lead, with Sergio tied for the lead, to both shoot 69, to both go at each other the way we did down the stretch. It was just one of those events that not two of you could win.
Okay, we're getting towards the end of our Life on Tour podcast here, but so what about life off tour? Leo, Lottie, how old are they now?
They're 9 and 6.
9 and 6. Good. I'm glad you got their ages right straight away. You're not one of those fellas that goes, how old are they now? They are 9 and 6, and life as well. You are you mostly in the Bahamas, or are you?
Yeah, we are mostly in the Bahamas. I kind of call it a halfway house really for me between America and England. It's a great place to travel from. It's an easy place to travel from, believe it or not. I like getting away from tour life. I like not seeing 50 other tour players on my weeks off. So it works well. I think it's a good place for the kids to grow up when they're young, sort of slightly slower paced, a few more interesting hobbies and activities.
Are they golfers at all?
No, Leo is so competitive that he thinks, okay, that's how golf should be played, that's how dad hits the ball, I can't do that yet. But he's so annoying because he's so good.
Really?
He's got a beautiful swing, he could be so good, but for him, he doesn't want, you asked when Leo was 3, I said, Leo, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, Leo Rose. So,
good answer.
Yeah, he's very independent. He's very much his own man. He's not willing to walk in my shadow one bit. So he's kind of keeping golf at an arm's length. He's football mad. He's very good at football. He's very fast. He's both-footed. He loves it.
Can you play football with him though? I suppose that's a bit risky. That's what Garcia has. Do yourself a mischief. But...
Well, 5 weeks ago, I rolled my ankle really badly in the garden with him. Right before Colonial, went right over the top of it, big crack. As soon as I did it, I thought, that's the US Open, I'm out. That's 8 weeks. I thought I'd either broken my ankle or done something really bad. And I was just in goal, but he missed the goal, and I was kind of trotting off to get the ball, got to the ball, just did like a little shuffle, twizzle, turn, went right over the top. And
did he show any sympathy, or did he go weak and just continue to play?
He said, Dad, no, you can still be in goal, you just have to stand there. Yeah, no sympathy.
But are you, well, I mean, there we go. Are you competitive with him? Do you let him win, or...?
I push him. So if we are, actually, I can't beat him at football anymore. He's gone past me now. But when he was sort of 6, 7, I would go 4 or 5 goals up, just to see his resolve, just to see if he would chuck it in the towel or two. But then I'd sort of let him come back, keep him interested, and then I'd sort of make him win it at the end if he was going to win it. But I would always test his resolve.
Yeah, but everybody who has children has learned a bit from their own parents. So are you passing on that sort of knowledge that you had from your parents in raising you?
I hope so. I hope just sort of, I try to lead by example. I think that's the best thing to do as a parent, is just to try and walk the walk, not always talk the talk, but it's hard. He does. He's
waddle the waddle.
Waddle the waddle. He's a boundary pusher. He's a challenge. But my little girl, let's give her some attention, because often in our house, Leo dominates and commands all the attention. But she's amazing. She really is. She's so funny. She's so easygoing, bright, beautiful. She's the opposite to him, really. She'll miss the golf ball and giggle and laugh and think it's great and funny, but she's got a great imagination, and she's into all the girly little things, like make-believe world. She loves to play teachers and schools and all that stuff at home. So they're a lovely sort of complement to each other because they're so different.
So just to wrap things up, 37 now?
37.
Where has the time gone? 37 now. What do you have specific goals going forward, some things that you'd still like to achieve?
A lot. I think I've had a great career. I think that Fuchs once asked me, right, Rosie, would you wipe the slate clean and do it all again? If someone said to you right now, take all of your achievements, throw them away, rewind the clock, you're 17 years old, would you give it another go? That's a great question. And I sort of wobbled and I said, maybe I wouldn't, because I know how hard it's been to get to this point, and I've been very fortunate to have won what I've won. So I'm very happy with where I'm at, but I'm determined to make now the next push incredibly important. I think that I can go from good to great maybe in the next 5 to 8 years, and that would mean Hall of Fame career, win another few major championships, do a few other cool things along the way.
Okay, but you will look back, I'm sure, to the miscuts, to the
Yeah.
young boy at Birkdale with a huge sense of pride in what you've achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a journey, and it's sort of come around full circle. And there were moments where I've doubted myself, and but yeah, you have to earn the right to look back and be happy. And I think that I've had a lot of help along the way too. Just give a quick shout out to my team that have been with me a long time. I'm not in this alone. Kate is the rock. She's front and center of all the decision making. And then I've obviously had Fuchs, which has been right by my side. My trainer JB, he's been with me also about 10 years. Foley 10 years. Really had a great squad now. So yeah, fortunate. You know, maybe I'm CEO, but part of being a good CEO is putting good people around you to make your life easier. I kind of say it's like bowling with the bumpers up. If I start to go off track, there's someone just to nudge me back on path.
Yeah, you've come a long way since the blonde-haired boy growing up. Justin, thanks for talking to us.
Cheers,
on Life
mate.
on Tour.
Thank you.
Yes,
Enjoyed it.
thank you.
To watch another European Tour video, click here. And to subscribe, click here.